Welcome to the Zest onboarding video. We are so excited that you've seen the demo, and we're also excited that you've now hopefully signed up for a free trial and are watching this onboarding video. This onboarding video can help you during your free trial, but also very much be a help for when you are actually using Zest and you're starting to move forward. So we will cover all the things that you need to do to successfully onboard and use Zest. We're excited about this because we, again, have used PSAs in the past that have taken months and months to onboard. 4, 5, 6 months, a lot of money, all that kind of stuff, just completely ridiculous. We're in the tech space, but yeah, we're using PSA and other tools that are ancient. And just because a tool or solution is highly customizable, so that you need to spend 4, 5, 6 months or a year to customize it and maintain it and just spend all your time doing that instead of working on your business, doesn't mean that it's a kind of current solution or up to date. So just very excited. Zest will help you slay the dragons of complexity, going to turn your clients into raving fans, and very excited.
Welcome to Zest. Today I'll be walking you through the core setup steps so you can get up and running quickly with Zest. Zest comes out of the box ready to go, configured with most of the things you're going to need, but like with any tool, a little bit of assembly is required. So today I'm going to walk you through the core things you should do after you've started a trial or signed up to use Zest. The very first thing you're going to want to do after you have signed into Zest and logged in with your initial user account is you'll want to invite any team members that will be using Zest with you. To do that, in the left-hand menu, open Team Management and go to Invitations. Here you can click on Invite New Member, and all you need to do is put their email address, pick their user groups, and pick their role. Roles are important in Zest. The owner role is the highest level role. They are the administrator of administrators and can add and remove roles from other users, and you can never be without at least one person having the owner role. The admin role has access to most things the owner role has, but they cannot change or remove people from the owner role. And then most people using Zest will be using the technician role. They have access to most of Zest, which is a very open system, but they don't have access to certain financial areas or the ability to change other people's account settings. And user groups, when you're inviting a member, these let you segment your employees into different groups of users. These are customizable, but out of the box, you're going to be putting people into these typical roles, and that's going to align them with the appropriate work queues in Zest. So for example, your salesperson won't be able to create or add tickets in the technical service queues, and your IT tech support tech role won't be able to add or remove tickets in the sales service queue. After you have invited who you'd like, you can always add more people to invite the whole team at once. Those users will get an invite email, and they simply follow the instructions there to create their user accounts. And while we're on the topic, under team management, you can also go to members. There is an invite new member button here, but you can also see the members who have been invited. And when you have sent invitations, if those invitations are pending, they will show here under invitations that they're pending and haven't created their user account yet. The next thing we'll want to go over is setting up your email for sending and receiving tickets in Zest. This is an optional step. You don't need to do it if you're going to be using our Exchange Online integration, which we'll cover in a minute under integrations. But if you're not going to use an Exchange Online mailbox, you'll want to configure the email you'll use to send and receive from Zest. To do that, you're going to go to Configurations, Queues, and you're going to go to the default queue, which is called Break Fix. This is an important queue because it is where a user request tickets come in by default from the ticket portal or from the configured email. If we click onto this queue, we can see here under email configuration that we have set this email address by default for sending and receiving from Zest. You can add a different email address you'd like to use, or you can change the set address. But this email address is defined by your company name, and whatever you add here for the prefix, like support or help, will be added to this email address, and then you can use that email to receive tickets into Zest, and it is the email that people will see when you respond to them from Zest. If you would like to use your own custom email address for this, you'll do that with the Outlook integration, which we'll talk about when we get to the integration step. After you've set the email you like here, you can back out to save your changes. The next thing you'll want to set up is your service ticket portal. So if we go to configurations and settings, we can see here that we have a client portal set up. When you don't have a client portal set up, you simply click into this field. You type in the URL that you would like to use. This is typically going to be a subdomain of your primary business domain. So help.companyname.com or support.companyname.com. You can customize a URL you want to use. Then you press enter, and you will be prompted if it has not detected a proper CNAME in your DNS record for that domain. You will be prompted with a next step to copy information and make a CNAME record in your DNS for the domain you've selected. Once you've done that, wait 30 minutes to an hour, and this page should then properly reflect that your ticket portal is set up. And you'll know it is set up when you come in here and it is no longer giving you the warning about DNS records needing to be added. And you can copy this domain and go to it, and you should see your ticket submission portal. There is a SSL cert for this page, but it does take up to a day to provision. So when you first set this up, you may get a warning that this is HTTP, but it will provision a certificate, and this will become HTTPS. After you've set this up, you will want to work on importing or creating your companies and contacts. So to do this, you're going to go to Customers, Companies, and if you're going to be importing, you can use this button in the upper right. We have a template for importing from Autotask, or you can use the default Zest template. You can download a sample of this CSV template and populate it with information from your current ticketing system or PSA or anywhere else. And then you can click Upload to upload that CVS file or CSV file. And then you can click Preview CSV, and it will show you if that is mapped properly for importing. It'll let you know if there's any data fields that don't match up, and you can import your customers that way. If you don't have data to import from, you can create companies directly by clicking the Create New Company button. You can add a logo for the company, and then you must put a company name. The company name in Zest should match the company name that you are going to have in your accounting system if you'll be using our QuickBooks or Xero integrations. They need to match letter for letter so that those integrations will work properly. So it is important that your company name in Zest match your other systems you're using, but you can modify this name later if you need to. And then, of course, you can put an abbreviation for the company, like so many MSPs do. You can put your short initials. You need to populate phone number and the relationship status for this customer. If they're a current customer, you will pick customer. But if they are not yet a customer, you're marketing or they're a lead, you can put those in as well so you can track companies that you would like to get to be customers. And then optionally, you can put in more information like the company address, website, domain, pick an account manager who will be responsible for the relationship with that customer, the number of estimated employees, what market segment they're in, and you can pick invoice terms once you've created them if that's appropriate. One thing that's important to point out is that the domain that you pick for the customer is going to allow their emails to create tickets properly. So it is important to populate the email domain or domains that your customer sends from so Zest can handle ticket creation properly. Once you've created these companies, then you can start populating contacts for the companies. To do that, you go to Customers Contacts, and again, you can import from CSV, or you can create them directly by clicking the Add New Contact button. You fill out their first and last name and their email address. Those are required. And then, of course, you have to pick the company that you're setting this contact up for. And then optionally, you can add a direct number, a cell phone number, their job title, a secondary email address if there's a personal address you might need to reach out to them at, extension, and location if the company has locations configured. You can also mark any contact as a VIP, and a VIP contact gets a special flag that you can see from the tickets they submit, so you know that this might be a decision maker or somebody who needs special attention. And while we're on the contact screen, we would like to point out that after contacts are created, they do have two other stats that can be changed later. These are active or inactive status and managed or unmanaged. These help you further define whether these are active users that you're supporting, and managed lets you know if the customer's paying for support for these, or these are just kind of additional contacts you want to keep track of. So now that companies and contacts are configured, we'll want to move on to setting up your integrations. So the integrations page is at the bottom of the left-hand menu. When we go to integrations, you'll see all our currently supported integrations. We'll add additional support videos as we add more integrations. We're adding many over time. At the top here, we've got QuickBooks and Xero. These are both for accounting purposes. If you'd like to be able to invoice out of Zest and track the payment of those invoices, you'll need to use one of these integrations. Connecting is very simple. Whether it's QuickBooks or Xero, you click the Connect button. It will take you to a logon screen where you'll log into that application with administrative rights, and that will prompt you to connect to Zest, and you will be connected. If you're already signed in to QuickBooks or Xero in the browser you're using Zest in, you may click this connect button and have it connect immediately. You may not even be prompted if your browser already has authentication rights into QuickBooks or Xero. Next, we have the RMM integrations, Level and Ninja. These set up in similar ways, but for Level, when you click connect, you will be given an API key. You take this API key and you go into Level to their integrations page, and you plug that in for their Zest integration, and you will be connected. For Ninja, there are 2 steps to set it up. When you click connect, you will be prompted with instructions on how to go and add Zest as an application within your Ninja 1 instance. And here you would go into Ninja, create the application. You'll get information from Ninja, and you will populate that information here in Zest, and then you will be able to connect. Our next integrations are for calendaring for Microsoft Outlook and Google Calendar. For either of these, once you connect them, you will be able to see your scheduled events that you create in Zest on your Outlook or Google Calendar. But as mentioned earlier, if you're going to use a custom email address, that is supported with Exchange Online through the Microsoft Outlook integration. So when you click connect, you will be prompted for an email to use to set this configuration up under. When you put this email address in, Zest will automatically use it for communicating out to your customers. They will use this email for outbound, and emails that come into this email address will be monitored, and tickets will be created from them. This email address does need to be a fully licensed mailbox. A shared mailbox will not work. And the emails that come into this mailbox will be processed and created into tickets, but they will remain in the mailbox. So you can always go monitor that. If there's some issue with a ticket not being created, you can go to the source of where that comes from. After you put the email address you'd like to use in here and click connect, you'll be prompted to log in to Office 365 with administrator rights and register Zest as an application. And the process is similar for Google. When you connect to Google, you put the email address you would like to use for the event organizer. We do not currently support sending and receiving email from Google for ticket creation, only for calendar events. And you can see there are additional steps that you need to authorize Zest as an application in Google. And finally, we have some upcoming integrations, and when these are finished shortly, we'll be adding setup content for them. So now that your integrations are set up, the next step would be to start to create contracts for your customers. That is done under the companies page and going into a customer and the contracts tab. If we click into a contract, we can see the items that you'll need to have for creating these contracts. You will need to know the start date of the contract. You can set an optional end date. You can categorize these by type, which we'll go over in a minute, where you can set that up. And then very importantly, the first contract you create for each customer is going to be called the primary contract. And this is where you can set the types of work in Zest that should be billable. So in this example, the work type project is set as billable at a rate of $150 per hour, which means you will be able to invoice from Zest for any time that is marked as project work. But time that is marked in other types of work, like remote support, for example, would not generate any invoices in Zest because it is not marked as billable by the customer's primary contract. And then once that is set, you can add your services and your licenses that you'll be reselling to the customer. So services is typically what you would set for your monthly with the customer, and this is also where you would come in to adjust these counts. So in this contract, if we know that the customer has added a new employee, we might come and adjust this count up, and then the next billing increment will reflect this updated amount. Some of the things that you'll do in a contract, if you're using our integrations for invoicing, do require additional setup, which we'll look at now, and this is the setup of what's called categories. So if you go under configurations, category settings, this is where you will map categories that allow the information you put into Zest to properly synchronize with your accounting system, Xero or QuickBooks Online. So for example, here is a category called hardware no tax, and here's another one called hardware tax. And we can see that the difference with this category is one is set for a tax code of non-taxable and one is set with a tax code of taxable. If we add a new category, you'll see that you can give the category a name. This name is used so you can recognize what this is for within Zest. And then you have to pick a tax code so when it pushes information to your accounting system will know if this should be taxed or not. If you are outside the US, this will auto-populate with a list of all your tax options. In the US, you simply have non-taxable or taxable. Outside the US, you will have up to a dozen different options depending on your region. Work type is optional, but if you pick a work type, it means this category is used for billable time under that work type. So if we take a look at our example here, we'll see that we have a category called project labor, and that is mapped to the project work type. And what that means is that when we have billable time in Zest, Zest will send this to this project ledger code of project in the accounting system. So when you're creating these categories, this ledger code is how you map to your ledger or account or product in your accounting system. In QuickBooks, these are typically called products. In Xero, they might be called GL codes or ledger codes. And so this is how you map the items that are coming from Zest into your accounting system. And we can't go any further, unfortunately, because we don't know what everybody's accounting system looks like. They all look different. Sometimes people are using numerical codes for this. Sometimes they're using words like project or hardware. But it is important that this ledger code match exactly, or you will get an error when you try to export an invoice using this category into your accounting system. If you run into issues with this, you should just reach out to us for support and we can get you through it. There are a few other items you can configure in Zest that are optional but useful. If we go under configurations, we can see here contract types. As I mentioned before, when you create contracts, you can pick a contract type. This is optional, but it does let you categorize your contracts so you can bill them in groups at different dates. So for example, monthly service is a type of contract that you might bill on the 1st of the month or the 28th of the previous month, but then VoIP or software licensing you might bill at a different time of the month, and you can categorize other contracts under these contract types, and then you can group these contract types together to invoice them when you feel is appropriate. Another area you can configure is notifications. The notifications area allows you to send emails to your customers or members of your staff when certain events happen in Zest. So for example, by default, when somebody sends in an email to Zest, they will get an automatic reply letting them know that their ticket was created. But if they use the client portal, they would not get that automatic reply because they get a pop-up letting them know the ticket's created. If you'd like them to get an email, you can simply enable this, and you can pick the reporter to receive an email. But if you'd also like a service manager or some other person to get a notification when a ticket is created, you can add an email address, and you can type in that person's email address to add them to the notifications. You can also add notifications when a ticket gets a new comment under the new comments field. Another area you can configure are your non-working days, which is important to make sure your SLA timers don't run on holidays when you're not in the office. When you come into configuration settings, you can go to non-working days, and you can add non-working days and set them to repeat annually if that's appropriate. And then another area you can populate in Zest is services and products. This allows you to build a library of your services, licenses, and hardware products that you resell to your customer. This will make it easier to populate contracts or populate procurement tickets and projects in Zest when you already have done the work of building this library and you can select from the library. Issue types and subtypes is another area that does come pre-configured in Zest, but many customers like to customize. So this will allow you to define issue types and issue subtypes and map those to different service queues. So for example, here is a SaaS issue type, and it is applied to the break-fix queue and the user request queue. So when tickets are created there, you can pick this issue type and the subtypes associated with it, but you will not see this as an option in the monitoring, alerts, or security queue. And finally, queues is where you can customize the 12 built-in queues that come pre-populated in Zest. There are two unique queues, the break-fix queue and the monitoring alerts queue, where customer tickets and RMM alert tickets come respectively. These queues cannot be disabled, but you can rename them, and you can also change the associated issue types and subtypes and the SLAs. The rest of the queues can be disabled or enabled, and they can all be renamed, and you can modify the default SLAs for each queue to better customize Zest to fit your business offerings. When we come into a work queue, you can see that you can optionally add additional ingestion emails if you'd like to set up ways for tickets to come into specific queues. You can change the user groups that are allowed to work with the queue. You can change the issue types and subtypes that are available to pick in the queue, and you can modify the SLA values for first response and resolution time for all the different priorities in the queue. These options are pre-configured, these queues are pre-configured, and these SLAs are pre-configured in Zest with our recommendations for a full scope MSP. But if your business offering is different, you might want to come in here and modify the names of these queues and the SLAs. And that is a very important part of getting Zest's work feed and dashboard to work properly and make sure that you are getting alerted when something is going to fail your business process, but you're not getting bothered when things are on track. The very final thing we would like to cover are payments in Zest. If you are on a trial and you have not yet put your payment information in the bottom left, you can see the payment option. Here's where you can add a payment method to Zest. Zest is a month-to-month service. When you add the payment information in, that will become your standard billable date month to month. And then if you add or remove users from Zest, the billable amount will change. And you can cancel Zest at any time. We want this product to work for you. And if it doesn't fit you, you're not locked into a contract with us. You would just click the cancel subscription button to cancel. Hopefully this has been a helpful onboarding video for you. If you have issues or questions or need further assistance, we're always available to help. Thank you.